All right, we're good.
Welcome to our podcast today. Ask Aaron and Ask EJ. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
And this is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. So EJ, looks like we're gonna do kind of a mixed bag of,
Yes.
I guess maybe we call it the current state of baseball,
Hmm.
at least this summer to
Right,
date.
right, right, right.
So um,
I like
yeah,
it.
let's go for it.
Well, Aaron, we have a lot of things going on these days in the environment of high school, youth baseball, collegiate baseball. You got the College World Series going on right now in Omaha. You have a lot of showcases, a lot of big events. USA Baseball event here in Arizona, and there's one in North Carolina called the East Championships and the West Championships. So a lot of baseball. I've seen a lot of college coaches the last 3 or 4 days out in the field, out on in the complexes, talking about the game of baseball, talking about the environment they're in now, since the NCAA put that 5 year, 5 years to complete, 5 years to complete your whole baseball, education or athleticism, as they say. So it's kind of different environment now, and I think talking to a lot of collegiate coaches, they feel that they are going after more high school players because their clock starts right when they graduate or at 19, and it gives them the opportunity to develop players, but they still believe they need those older players to stabilize their program. But I'm seeing all these college programs starting to rebuild again, get these freshmen into school that are athletic, ready to go physically, and mentally prepared. And it's a different climate than it was, hey, 2 months ago.
Right.
It's changed again, and I think the parents need to understand that is that training matters. And the old adage of I just go to showcase, I may have a chance, that doesn't exist. Coaches want to see players that are committed and ready to play, but they practice a lot and they're comfortable in their skill set. So we're seeing a lot of changes, in a positive way. And I'll tell you this, I thought this was the most interesting thing, Aaron. Louisiana State University's coach Jay Johnson, who's been, a college assistant everywhere. And hey, look, he's in a big in the Power Four conference, and
Hmm.
he said, you know what, I need to build my program within. I'm kind of tired of the transfer portal, And then 2 years, his tune was, hey, if you want to go to the World Series, get in the portal and come to LSU. He said that on ESPN.
Yeah.
But he changed his tune because he saw the environment and the culture of his program change,
Yeah.
because he went into the portal where it became more individual for players and what they needed and the money they needed with NLI and all that stuff. So, with that said, Aaron, it is a definitely a different environment, and I think that development side that you and I've been talking for years and years is coming back around full circle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a lot of rifting going on, but I think something important that's changing in our environment right now.
I guess it's like anything else, pendulum swings too far to the right or too far to the left, and now there's a correction being
Right.
happening. Yeah, I like the 5 years, and it kind of makes people, I think, it helps to get rid of some of the shenanigans that a lot of these coaches are kind of basically everyone's gotten fed up with, you
Right.
know. So I think that's good. It adds some. I think it'll start to add some stability, um, some predictability for athletes and coaches as to how to navigate the landscape instead of everything always being in flux. With being able, all these guys being able to move around, and your roster basically can change from year to year,
Right.
and
Exactly.
athletes kind of making athletes sit down a little bit more. I think.
Hmm.
And also, I think it also helps to level the playing field for the developmental athlete because I think that's who was getting hurt the most. Whereas that 17-year-old, 18-year-old, it was just asking a lot of them to compete against guys who are, 2 and 3 years older, 2 or 3 years more experience. How do you catch up? Now, the interesting thing that I think about on the development side is the adjustment that I'm afraid is going to happen in the high school level.
Mm,
And I think, again, you can't stop these people because they're always trying to find a way to get an edge for the kids and everything.
right.
But I think we're going to probably see a proliferation of people going to these, what do you call them? Not continuation schools, but
Oh,
these schools where you can add another year.
right,
You
right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
I forgot
think
what they're
that's
called.
now, I know they do it a lot in basketball, but I
Right.
think these academies or whatever, I think you're going to start to see that more in baseball now for those parents who are kind of looking for that, that edge still. So you're probably going to start to see a lot of these eighth graders get
Yes.
held back a year, to start the high school season
Right.
earlier. And those who are maybe already in it or come to this late are probably going to start to look, obviously those who can afford it and do it, but they're going to probably start to see them now looking at, okay, where can I go to one of these academies, special schools, or whatever it is, where I can buy my kid another year. I,
Right.
I think that's where that shift is going to go in the middle and high school. So it'll be interesting
Right.
to see because I don't think it's something that was done quite a lot in baseball. But I know it. I heard of it a lot in basketball and
Right.
maybe sometimes football, mainly basketball. But in
Yes.
baseball, I have a feeling that's going to happen. I think the biggest thing that's going to happen is parents are going to start holding their kids back in middle school.
Yeah, especially if they start early, Aaron.
But
Maybe that
softball
they
and baseball, I think you're gonna see that.
yeah,
Yeah,
especially those kids, like you said, that are underdeveloped
yeah,
and they graduate at 17,
yeah.
barely 17 or
Yep.
17 and a half, and they go,
Hmm.
let's go another year. Because their clock doesn't really start till they graduate, or
Right,
they're 19 when they turn 19. That's the
right, right.
caveat. Either when you graduate or you turn 19. So
Yeah,
you got to finish by 24, basically 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. By 23 years old, you got to be out of college now.
yeah, yeah.
That's what they're really saying. So which is what you and I went through,
So I went,
back in the
yeah,
day.
exactly.
You didn't see a 25 or 26-year old playing or running track or anything like that. You
Yeah,
didn't see that. And now we find out the average age of a college student athlete in baseball is 23.9, almost 24 years old, the average.
yeah.
So what we're trying to do is, even the playing field a little bit. And I think it does help these high school players a little bit where they were getting bombarded by like, hey, you're not good enough. And I hate to tell people this. They go to a JC and they go, I want to go play JC. I want to play D1 JC. See, there's D1 JC,
Hmm.
D2, D3 JCs. And I'm going to tell you something. If you haven't seen a Division 1 JC game,
Exactly.
it's like playing Division 1 baseball, man. I mean, the talent and the athleticism of these players,
It's,
is remarkable.
it's
It's
not
like
an easy slide.
it's not. And I'm like going, do you understand what you're getting involved with? That
Yeah,
those guys are physical and ready to go, which probably leads me into this next conversation that we have if we're finished here is
yeah,
about development of an athlete at this time of the year, having money in the bank. And we're into a very important 8-week stretch here, Aaron, where, you need to have some sort of money in the bank to finish out the summer season on a positive note and get you where you need to be in terms of being noticed or recruited or whatever you want to call it these days from college coaches. And I think a lot of players, man, if you hadn't been working out like in the fall and the winter and in the spring, man, you got to empty the tank right now, Aaron. I mean, you got to be ready to go. And I see a lot of athletes. I don't know if they're ready. I see a lot of guys a little thin, as
yeah.
I would say.
Well, yeah, it's, we talk about it all the time is everyone wants to load for, and get ready for the high school season, but when your scene is in the summer, and we've talked about it and written blog articles and all that stuff
Mhm.
about the detraining that happens during the high school season because kids don't train during that part of the
Right,
season. Well, now you're running on fumes. And
right,
like you said, you've got these 8 weeks to try and put something together that's presentable to scouts and in colleges,
right,
and you don't have you don't have all of the faculties or all of the you know the energy and things that you need to really put your best foot forward. And there's those who are in that position, which is probably most athletes, and
hmm
then there's those who did do the work, who are, they're cruising right along right now. Some are even hitting their stride. Uh,
right.
but it's a choice that athletes make every year, and for some reason, they just can't seem to make it work. Whether it's budget, logistics, again, I
Right,
know you get with the high school season, and it's a time suck, but it's not a physical suck.
right.
I'm sorry, it's not.
It's
And
not.
and so yes, it may monopolize a lot of your time, but that just means you've got to make the time. That means I
Oh,
just talked to a
hmm
parent today about it. That might mean then, okay, you know, I do a 6 a.m. half hour workout to maintain the gains that
right.
I've gotten over the winter, over the fall. Or it might mean working out after practice, whatever the case may be. But there's only two aspects of it. You either did it or you didn't do it.
hmm
There
hmm
is no try.
Yes.
Well, I tried to. The result is the same. You either did it, did the work, and reap the benefits, or you didn't do the work, and you're not going to reap
Right.
the benefits. So, I don't even entertain any of the excuses. I said, this is where we're at. Now, if anything, this is where having a good coach or skills trainer or
hmm
performance trainer comes into play, because now this is where you have to be managed through
Mm,
these next 8 weeks. Whether
right.
you did the work or you didn't, this is where that expertise comes into play, because now this is where a guy like me can say, hey, okay, you didn't do the work, but this is where we need to kind of put our resources during this period of time so that we can get the best out of you. You
Right.
know, this is maybe how we tune you up, or maybe this is how we restore some power to your swing or a little velocity to your ball, to your pitching.
Right.
Or this is how we keep you healthy. Um, and that's where, someone like me and my expertise comes into play. It's not just to train you some more, but to say, okay, given where you're at in your physical state, what's the best way to proceed forward
Right.
so that you put the best foot forward? But a lot of kids, they're just like, okay, well, the summer season, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to go play. And then now they've got even more available hours during the day,
hmm
and they decide that they want to, spend it either hanging out,
Right.
playing video games, you know,
Right.
and then just going to tournaments. Some of them don't even have practices, and they're still not training. They're just going to they're on these tourney teams that
Right.
maybe practice once a week or something, and then they're going to play a tournament. Well,
Right.
what are you doing those other days? So, those other hours uh, of the week, and in the next couple of weeks is where stuff is going to kind of start to hit the fan. Usually after July, that's when you start to see kids getting hurt.
Yeah.
That's when you
Y-
start to see kids getting hurt.
Well, Aaron, this goes back to something that you have talked about twice on our podcast, and that's about managing an athlete,
Hmm.
time management, having a team, sports performance person, somebody that can really guide you and being managed during this time. And I think a good point you mentioned was, yeah, you haven't done the work, but these are some of the things you need to be doing. I think that's important. That encompasses a lot of athletes, by the way.
Hmm. Yeah.
I believe that. What I see, and as I walk around and watch other teams play and watch our guys and everything around and look at athletes and how physical they are, or how lack of physicality when we play against teams, or they're physical, we're not physical, whatever the case being, that's a managed skill. Managing an athlete to get them where they need to be. It's never too late to start, man. I mean, I believe
It's
that. I
not.
think
Yeah,
it's never
exactly.
too late, man. I
A,
mean,
a
talk
good
about
trainer
that.
can pull something out of you.
Hmm.
Whether it's just one narrow aspect. It might be, what? Okay, let's just hit your speed so that
Okay.
you run the base pads effectively. You show them that. Or you might say, hey, you know what? Let's just work on making contact on the ball hitting the opposite field.
Right.
Forget bat velo, forget, hitting bombs. We're just gonna do this. Let's just make you effective at this. Whatever the case may be, there's always work that can be done and that you can salvage. But what
Right.
happens is people just kind of ride it out and they sit on
Right.
their butts, and then, when it doesn't work out for them, they don't know what to do. And then all they do is rinse and repeat for the next year.
Right.
It
Right. They
just makes
do.
no sense. They
Yeah.
just rinse and repeat, do the same thing the next year.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, um, again, there's guys who will just come in for, 2 or 3 weeks. I'll say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. We can't build right now, but this maybe you've degraded and this aspect of your game. Let's prop this up. Or maybe,
Okay.
you've degraded this aspect game. Let's prop this up. Or let's figure out what we want to show the scouts.
Right.
It's too late for you to be, if you're 175 to be a 190.
Right.
But we can still do things to help you display some power for your size, pound for pound.
Right.
We can
Right.
still do, other things that denote strength, which is what people extrapolate from size.
Right. Right.
So those are things that can be done. But you got to be willing to, come in and do the work versus just like I said, okay, well, you're not in school, you got all these available hours. Well, what are you doing with them?
Yeah.
You
I
know?
see a lot of that, available hours. Are we making the most of the hours? Um, are we being the best we can be? I think recovering, having a plan,
Yeah.
initiating it, and staying consistent with it.
Right.
I mean, you go on for, if you're playing on the circuit, I call it the circuit.
Yeah.
You're going to one event that's a week. That could be a USA baseball event. You're going to a perfect game event, probably in Georgia or somewhere around there. You got the Perfect Game World Series out on the West Coast. You've got prep baseball in SoCal. That's for 5, 6 days. And then you've got Prospect or another UBC event. That's another 5 days. I mean, you're talking about 4 weeks on the road, and that's not even counting travel.
Yeah.
And you start to think that, how's your body going to handle that?
Yeah.
Let alone your mindset that needs to be. But I think athletes aren't prepared to, they're afraid to go do their work after the game. Look, the game's over at 10, 11, 12. You got the whole afternoon. You're not going to eat for 6 hours, right? You're not going to have lunch and dinner for six. What's wrong with getting done at the field, coming back and working out, and
Right.
then going to eat?
Yeah.
Or spending extra time working your pitching drills or your recovery drills,
Hmm.
or working your hitting or ground ball work or fly ball work, and just getting some, like, they don't understand 10 minutes goes a long way on the field.
And I
Or
was just gonna say that.
oh
Yeah.
man, talk to me, Aaron. Talk
People
to me about
don't people
this.
don't understand training. And I actually just said this to a dad today. I said, people worry about how much time it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, you should be worrying about, what you put into that time that you were out there.
Right.
That's all that really matters. I mean, if you're an elite level athlete, you can get a productive 10, 15-minute warm workout or a skill session and be fine, and that's what you have to be able to get to, is that it's not about how much time you have, is what you do with the time that you got. And I don't think people really understand that. They're thinking, well, hey, I go to the gym, and parents, this is probably one of the biggest things you guys should stop doing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I go to the gym, and my workout takes me an hour and a half or 2 hours. Well, you're not performance training. And you're probably, yeah, you're working out, but you're probably socializing. You're probably looking on your phone. You're probably, doing all these things. So yeah, you're spending an hour and a half in the gym, but how much of that is work?
Preach. Talk.
So don't layer that onto your kids' activities,
Right.
because an elite level athlete can do a very high quality workout in 45 minutes
Man, talk to me. Talk to me there. I like that.
and get everything that they need to get done. And you can do a great skill session, especially for, athletes who are skill-based sports,
Mm-hmm.
easily in 15, 30 minutes, you
Absolutely.
know.
Get your work in. Get your work in.
So there is time to do the work. It's just that I think how work is measured, again, has to be revisited and has to be redefined.
Mm,
And so that athletes know that, hey, I got 20 minutes. Oh man, I can get some flip drills in.
right.
Hey, I got, 20 minutes. I can do some shadow glove work or some shadow swing work.
Right.
When we're talking, baseball,
Right.
basketball, I'm sure there's different things you can do with your shot or dribbling. Yeah, sports like track and field, it's a little bit, a,
Different.
different. You've got, it's a lot more physical in what you got to do, but still, if you're in, a lot of the field events, where you can do that. I think you can still get that done in 30 minutes, because
Right.
maybe you have a 10, 15-minute warm up, 15 minutes of activity.
Right.
Sprints and things like that, it's a little bit harder depending on your work, what you're working on.
Yeah.
But even track and field, you might say, okay, you know what? I'll just work on some drills to help with my foot
Right.
strike. I'll work
Right.
on my arm swing. So there, you just got to think out of the box and be creative versus thinking, oh, okay, well, it takes me 20 minutes to warm up, and then I got an hour workout. Then it takes me 20 minutes to cool down. You know, well, I don't know. Again, the template is different, you guys. It really is, and so you've got to think differently on how you're going to do these things. And again, my thing is, it's not one session that makes you good or makes you great.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cumulative effect
Right.
of training that makes you better. So
Right.
it's all these bits and bytes that you take on a regular and consistent basis that fill up that performance, bucket.
Right. The
So my
bucket.
thing is, keep eating, you know,
Keep
keep eating.
eating.
You want to get fat, keep eating, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
But what
Exactly.
happens is, people gorge themselves, then they starve themselves. Then they gorge themselves, then they starve themselves. They gorge, and so they get nowhere.
Yeah. I agree with you. 100%. It just, you know, it's interesting, the subject about summer transition and ready to play and all the things we hear out there from the college coaches and the professional scouts and what they're looking for. But it goes back to this. Do we have a plan, Aaron? Do we have a plan and can we initiate and be consistent with it? And that's what's going to lead us down the road to have success, and if we do that and we can buy into that, we're going to be greater. We're going to be better. We're going to, we're going to get to where we need to be faster. And it's going to allow us to turn off the brain and allow us to put on, go on automatic pilot and just letting it happen instead of trying to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, my
That's
man.
good. A little mixed bag there, but I like it. We haven't been
Yes.
on in a while, so it's a good way to start. Hopefully we'll get some momentum going again and start to
Well,
get some content out for you guys.
Well, this is our summer season, Aaron.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
always
and
hard.
to be funny about this, this is, I think, of the time that we started back in COVID, in
Hmm.
2019, 2020. So you're looking at 6 years. This is our sixth summer that we've been at it, providing information, free information, by the way, everyone, giving our opinions about what you see. And it's a great listen. Tell your friends, tell everybody, ask Aaron, ask EJ, and hit us up on everything, whether it's our Twitter account, whether it's on Spotify, all those things, Instagram, all that. Hit us up and talk to us. We want to talk to you and give you the valuable information.
Yeah,
So,
and also because we're not necessarily back to doing these each week, and you guys, if you don't want to miss one, then just subscribe.
right,
Subscribe to YouTube. I post everything on that. Um, Subscribe if you've got Spotify. This way, you don't even have to search for us. We'll just get an announcement that says, "Oh, these guys just did another podcast."
hmm
Because to be honest with you guys, during the summer we don't know when we get these done. So sometimes they're going to be done middle of the week. Sometimes they're not going to be on our regular Friday all the time.
right,
This way you don't miss an episode. You kind of get to stay. You're in the loop, and then go from there.
right. So, thanks for joining us today. Hey, this is Coach EJ, the brand.
And it's Coach Aaron the Source. We'll see you.
See ya.